वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. Team Param Vedanta welcomes you all for the session 13 of Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transmission, a study of selected verses from Shankara Bhashyam. In the last session, we have completed verses from 3.4 to 3.9, and today let us continue our study from 3.13 onwards. So, our order of speakers will be Srimati Rama, Srimati Sukanya, Dr. Sandhya Ravi, Dr. Manjula Devi, and Mr. Bhaskar RV. And today's moderation will be done by Dr. Ravi Shankar. Over to you, Ravi Shankar sir.
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् Om. In this particular session, we would like to have an introduction of this topic. And I would like to start with this part of the Shankara Bhashya. Karmano jayasi buddhihi iti karmanaha atirikta karanam. Jayasi means something higher. So something higher is there from, as compared to karma, there is something higher, and that is buddhi. Here, buddhi means jnanam. What is this background about? We are all with this disease of samsara, and we go to our doctor, our guru, and he gives us this pill of karma yoga and jnana yoga. So he says, you take the karma yoga pill, come back in 5 days. If things are well, I'll give you the jnana yoga pill. However, the smart ones that we are, like Arjuna, we want to take 2 pills of karma yoga and 2 pills of jnana yoga at the same time. And when we go back to the master, he says, your disease continues and now you have toxicity. The understanding we should have is that beyond karma yoga, there is something called jnana yoga. And that is the understanding that we should clearly get in the beginning of this chapter. Do we have them together? Can we take the pills together? The practical significance of Samuchaya Vada Khandanam, to separate them and not to have them together, is having gone through these classes of Vedanta and trying to understand ourselves. Am I a karma yogi or am I a jnana yogi? We can never be a ubhaya yogi. We can't be both together, because a ubhaya yogi is a ubhaya bhrashtaha. And therefore, in the beginning of this chapter, very clearly in the 3rd verse, which is a very significant verse, Lord Krishna says, Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. Karma yoga nishtha is the life of karma yoga, and jnana yoga nishtha is a life of jnana yoga. So the question which comes again and again is, and Arjuna very clearly asked this in the 1st verse, Jnana yoga being the direct means of liberation, why should I ever take to karma yoga as a sadhana? When I clearly know that karma yoga is not the direct means of moksha, and you are now asking me to do the karma yoga, which is fighting the yuddha, the Mahabharata yuddha, killing all my kith and kin, and that's what is highlighted in the 1st verse. As Advaitins, what is the understanding we should have? Krishna tells us and teaches us karma yoga as well as jnana yoga. And Lord Krishna wants every seeker in us to go through karma yoga and jnana yoga. Krama samuchaya is the teaching that Lord Krishna gives us. It is not sama samuchaya. Krama samuchaya is to go through karma yoga, get sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, then move on to Jnana Yoga, Jnana Nishtha, which is moksha. If without Karma Yoga we get into Jnana Yoga, we become intellectuals, remembering all the verses, understanding them, but not living life with that. There is no transformation. And so we don't get the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. And so Jnana Yoga would never work. And if we continue to be in Jnana Yoga, we have to do Karma Yoga. Clearly, the understanding is start with the triangular format, but replace it with the binary format. Bhinna Purusha, says Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya in his Bhashya, there are two different types of people in the form of two different adhikaris, the Jnana Yoga Adhikari and the Karma Yoga Adhikari. And therefore, it is a very, very clear picture that we must have in our mind at all times. Kevalad Jnanat Aham Brahmasmi Moksha iti Esha Artha. It is only by remaining in binary format that we are going to have moksha. So I look upon myself as a mumukshu. I do all the activities as a sadhana. I'm looking at moksha as a sadhyam. I'm trying to maybe reduce the sakama bhakti. But we must understand about these karmas. Kamya karmas and the Nishiddha karmas do cause bondage. What about the Nitya Naimitya karma? They are the Pancha Mahayagnyas and they do not cause bondage. We never ask for them, but as a byproduct, we get material worth. So if we drop the Kamya karmas, there's no papam. There is the benefit of losing samsara. If we give up the Panchamaha of course it is harmful. Why is that so? Because moksha becomes farther and farther. And we try to, by doing that, gain a special papam called the Pratyavaya papam. Not having enough money is an issue. But if you have a lot of wealth and you don't give dhanam, it is as good as stealing. It's as good as being an indirect thief. Devadi swa apahari bhavati. Pratyavaya. What does it mean? The Purva Mimamsas, in their definition, say that it is the production of a new papam. Pratyavaya is a agami papam, is what they say. But the clear understanding that we should have is it is not the production of a new papam, but it is allowing the continuity of the already existing prarabdha papam, which already we have. May I now request Srimati Rama to give us an explanation of the 13th verse of the 3rd chapter. Srimati Rama, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 13. Yagnashishtashinas santo muchyante sarvakilbishaihi bhunjate te tvagham papaha ye pachantyatmakaranat. Anvayarthaha. Ye, those, santaha, the karma yogis, yagnashishtashiнаha, who consume remnants of food offered in the sacrifice, sarva kilbishaihi, from all kinds of sins, muchyante, are released. But ye, those papaha, sinful ones, atmakaranat, for their own sake, pachanti, who cook food or do karmas, they bhunjate, enjoy or consume agham papas only. The translation: the righteous who offer food to the gods in sacrifice and utilize the remnants of are freed from all the bad effects of karmas, that is sins. But those who cook food to satisfy their own sensual needs are sinners and verily eat sins. In the next slide, we see the significance of yajnas. The 4 shlokas, 10 to 13, indicate different aspects of yajnas and reasons for performing them. The purpose of the yajna, the contract with God, our material welfare, and our spiritual welfare. A yajna is a self-sacrificing deed done for the common good for the world without expecting anything back. Adi Shankaracharya refers yagnam to the Panchamaha yajnas. Our scriptures prescribe Panchamaha yajnas as nitya karmas by which we fulfill our obligations to the universe. Avoiding them will produce pratyavaya papam, which will be an obstacle to the spiritual path. So a karma yogi makes sure to perform them and removes obstacles in his spiritual path. Also in the shloka 12 and 13, Sri Krishna indicates three types of attitudes of people. Shloka 12 describes about the consumers who neither contribute to the society nor perform any action but only consume. The first line of the shloka 13 unfolds selfless action, and the second line explains about selfish actions. The consumers and the selfish people are trapped in the cycle of birth and death forever. The result of selfless actions lead to liberation. The next slide details more about Panchamahayagnas. Performance of Panchamahayagnas is glorified in the first half of this shloka. The Karma Yogi performs Karma Yoga as worship of the Lord and all the results as Yajna Prasadaha. So they are Yajna Shishtam Ashinaha, says Gitacharya. The partakers of the remnants of sacrifices as Ishvara Prasadaha. Serve the world and sustain on whatever it results into. Santaha, by being so, the Karma Yogis achieve Chitta Shuddhihi and also enjoy worldly benefits as Yajna Prasadaha. The five main sources of committing sins are shown in the next slide. In this shloka, Sarva Kilbishaihi refers to all the sins caused due to Pancha Sunavaha, that is, sins committed deliberately or by mistake, mostly through these five sources. The word Sunuhu literally means Himsasthanam, a slaughterhouse. They are usage of mortar and pestle, the grinding stone, the fireplace, the broom, and placing the water pot, or Panchasunavaha, the harmful means mentioned in the scriptures. Moving on to the last slide, in the Shankara Bhashyam, Ye Punaha refers to the Karma Yogis who are unlike Stenaha, the thieves mentioned in the Shloka 12. So far, Sri Krishna described Karma Yoga looking it as Ishwaragna, Ishwarayagnaha. And here he looks it as Chitta Shodhakam, the spiritual sadhanam to purify the mind. Pramada Kruta Himsadi Janataihi, from those sins incurred through Panchasunavaha. The five means Anyaihi cha papaihi, and also from those others incurred owing to injury, etc., caused by accident, that is unknowingly. Muchyante, a karma yogi will be freed from bad effects of karmas, say all kinds of papas, and hence samsara. In the second half of the shloka, Sri Krishna strongly criticizes the non-performers of yagnas as papaha, all these selfish people fulfilling their sensual pleasures. Atma Karanat, with the intention of their own consumption, which means all the activities are centered around me and mine, that is Ahankaraha and Mamakaraha. And Pachanti, they prepare food, that is they do karmas, Agam Bhunjate, papas, through all the five senses organs and incur pleasures through them. This accrued papas results in the endless samsara, the cycle of birth and death. Action is definitely the cause of the movement of the wheel of world. How it is explained in the next verses to come. Hari Om, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha.
That was a very nice explanation. To highlight a few points in this verse, Pratyavaya Papam is an obstacle in Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam. The Pancha Mahayagnas that we do themselves serve as a Prayaschitta Karma. And it is essential for Chitta Shuddhi, which is our primary goal. We get Ishvara Prasada as the byproducts of this Karma Yoga without asking for it. It should be absolutely not a Sakama prayer. May I now request Srimati Sukanya to explain the 14th and the 15th verses.
Hari Om. Creation, sustenance, and destruction is a cyclic process. Through the process of Karma Yoga, humans coordinate with nature so as to maintain universal harmony. This is the essence of this verse. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhava. Yagnat bhavanti parjanyo yagnaha karma samudbhava. Four main stages of the cycle are expressed here. Annat bhavanti bhutani. All beings are born out of food. Parjanyat anna sambhava. Food is produced because of rain. Yagnat bhavati parjanyo. Rain is caused with yagna. And yagna karma samudbhava. Yagna is born out of karma. Human beings are born and they survive on this planet because of food. Food is possible with good harvesting of crops and with sufficient rain at the appropriate time. Rain causes anna sambhava, origination of food. Rain is caused by yagna, representing Panchamaha yagna, which is prescribed in the Vedas. Yagnat bhavati parjanyaha. Through the yagna, that is macro, universal, adrishta phalam, invisible factor, punya is attained, because of which rain is bestowed by the rain gods. This view is expressed in Manusmriti. Next slide, sir. Agnau prasutahutihi samyak adityam upatishtate. Adityat jayate vrishtihi. Vrishte annam tata praja. During Deva Yagna, oblations offered to the fire are received by the Agni Devata, represented by Aditya, the sun god, and Varuna, the rain god, who control the climatic conditions. Aditya and Varuna together, through the process of evaporation of ocean water and formation of clouds, bestow rain. This cyclic process is explained in Shankara Bhashyam as under. Annat bhutani bhavanti. Bhutani, human life is possible and sustainable only with food consumption. How does this happen? The food so consumed by human gets converted into retaha in male, lohitam in female. These two together is the cause of birth of the fetus. Annat bhuntat lohita retaha parinatat pratyaksham bhavati jayante bhutani. Annat bhuktat means food consumed by male and female gets converted into lohita and reta, through which parinatat, after conversion, jayante bhutani, living beings are born. Pratyaksham bhavati. This is in our own experience. Parjanyat anna sambhava. Rain causes origination of food, and rain is the result of yagna. Next slide, sir. Yagna is an attitude of reverence. The five main yagnas, the Panchamaha yagna, which are prescribed in the Vedas as niyata karmani, regular duties, promote welfare of humanity. Panchamaha yagna is the fivefold reverential service to the infrastructure through awareness and also acknowledging their presence for service to humanity. Swami Paramarthanandaji has clearly indicated these yagnas as under. Pitru yagna, reverence to family, acknowledging the importance of family, which is a must for survival. Also, reverence to forefathers. Manushya yagna, acknowledging the importance of community culture, harmony between various communal groups for well-being of the society. Bhuta yagna, awareness of environmental factors and avoiding disharmony, protection to plants and animal life. As in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam, Sarva Bhutani cha Atmani, Sarvatra Samadarshana. Deva Yagna, reverence to five elements, space, air, water, fire, and earth, by protecting them. And finally, the Brahma Yagna, preserving and promoting Vedic scriptures and also leading Vedic way of life. Shankaracharya explains Panchamaha Yagna as a ritualistic activity. When performed by human beings, it contributes to total universal harmony. This is Deva Yagna, a reverential offering to the nature. Next slide, sir. The primary meaning of the word Yagna is action. Karma also means action. When Krishna says Yagna Karma Samudbhava, it should mean action born out of action. As per Bhashyam, we have to understand this by applying the Jahati Lakshana, that is, by dropping the primary meaning as action and replacing it as Karma Phalam Punyam. So, Yagna means Punyam, Karma means action. Yagna Karma Samudbhava means Yagna is born out of Punyam. Samashti Punya Sambhava, Punyam born out of Panchamaha Yagna. Next verse, sir. Karma Brahmodbhavam Vidhi Brahmakshara Samudbhavam Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yagne Pratishtitam. This verse explains the source through which you get the knowledge of Panchamahayagna, way of life to maintain universal harmony. Know that action is born out of Vedas. The Vedas are born out of the Lord. Therefore, Veda is all-pervading and it's always employed in the yagnas. Next slide, sir. The words Karma Brahmodbhavam Vidhi, the very concept of dharma is Panchamahayagna. We know about dharma only through the Vedas, which is an Apaurushaya Pramana. Karma Brahmodbhavam Bhavati. Karma, that is Panchamahayagna, is born out of Brahma. Veda is the source of this knowledge. Therefore, Vidhi, it can be understood only from scriptures. Therefore, to be a Karma Yogi, study of scriptures and understanding, performing Panchamahayagna is very important. Brahmakshara Samudbhavam, primary meaning of Veda is Brahma. Veda is born out of Ishvara. Akshara is Ishvara. Human beings contribute towards cyclic harmony in the universe by performing Panchamahayagna, which originate in the Vedas. Vedas are the source of this knowledge. Next slide, sir. Brahmakshara Samudbhavam. Vedas are born out of Paramatma. Aksharat Purushaha Nishvasa Samudbhavam Brahma. Vedas were created by Ishvara effortlessly. Sarva Prakashakaha. Veda illumines everything. It is the absolute reality. Veda's wisdom pervades everywhere. Sarvagatam. Even though Vedas are all pervading, Nityam Yagne Pratishtitam, it's always employed in yagnas. In conclusion, nature and all its elements in the universe follow their Swadharma at all times, which is a guiding light for human beings to follow their own Swadharma, thus coordinating with each other so as to maintain universal harmony. Hari Om. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for a very nice explanation of Panchamahayagna and how it has its bearing on universal harmony. So the important aspects of the Panchamahayagna is that it protects the chakram. Adi Shankaracharya has mentioned it as a chakram. And the Panchamahayagnas are the dharma itself. This is what is highlighted by Swami Paramarthanandaji so aptly, saying that a consumer human becomes a contributor human. Sri Krishna says, by doing Panchamahayagna as a karma yoga, the invisible form of the Vedas and the Bhagwan is present right there. Ishvara Janna Veda, Shankaracharya explains it as Ishvara as he helps in the manifestation of the universe from the unmanifest matter. In the same way, he is responsible for the Vyakti Karanam or Abhivyakti of the Anadi Veda. May I now request Dr. Sandhya Ravi to kindly explain the 17th and the 18th verse of the 3rd chapter.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The principle of Karma Yoga is give to maintain harmony. So it is giving oriented. The previous verses described the chakram, that is the cosmic wheel of cooperative action. When we live in unison with this wheel of action, we contribute to the harmony of life. The pleasure seekers, that is the Indriya Rama, bring about discordance and they disrupt the harmony. Should everyone follow the wheel of action that has been set in motion? In the next slide, in verses 17 and 18, Sri Krishna states that one who has realized the self has no obligation whatsoever for things which are done or not done. Chanting the 17th verse, Yastvat Atmaratireva Syadatma Triptascha Manava Atmanyeva cha Santushtas Tasya Karyam na Vidyate. The next slide. We do know that Karma Yoga is not the ultimate sadhana. To explain the verse, suppose there is a man who loves the self alone, who is happy with the self alone, and who is contented with the self alone. There is nothing to be accomplished for him. Please, next slide, sir. We do know that Karma Yoga is not the ultimate sadhana. The ultimate path is Jnana Yoga, which will take us to moksha when we have attained Purnatvam through self-knowledge. Without Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga is impossible, and without Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga is incomplete. So these two shlokas actually encapsulate the essence of Jnana Yoga. When we look at that verse, here tu, the word tu in this verse differentiates the realized one from the ajnani or the common man. Sri Krishna states that if one does not perform his obligatory duties, life becomes unfruitful. So when we look at the expressions Atmaratihi, which means rejoicing in the self, Atmatruptaha, gratified with the self, and Santushtaha, contented. All these refer to the realized person. There is this Manava, which refers to every other person who is capable of reaching this state after leading a very spiritually disciplined life. The opportunity is available to each and every one of us. But the Manava who reaches the state of Atmarati, Atmatrupta, Santushta is the intelligent person who has realized the self through inquiry, by reading the scriptures, and by having a guru, a competent guru. He has discovered that his true nature is limitless and is Atmarati, Atmatrupta, and Santushta. He is self-sufficient and he does not depend on external factors. His very nature is contentment. In short, he is contentment personified. The Sthita Prajna, which is described in chapter 2, verse 55. For such a person, he has no binding desires, no further struggles. Tasya karyam na vidyate. And whatever he does is not for fulfillment. Whatever he does is out of fulfillment. Going on to the next slide. Previous verse stated that a jnani has no duty. So this 18th verse is just a confirmation of the same. It says, in this world, he has nothing to gain through action, nothing to lose due to inaction. Upon no being does he have any dependence for any purpose. Next slide. The ordinary person acts either to gain something or to avoid loss. But not so a jnani who has attained Purnatva. Na eva artaha. There is no goal to be accomplished, kritena, through actions. Na kaschana, nothing to be accomplished, iha, here, akritena, through inaction. For that enlightened person, asya, na kaschat, there is absolutely no artha vyapashraya, dependency on any object or dependency on any being, sarva bhuteshu. So the jnani has nothing to accomplish, nothing to renounce, and nothing to attain. Such a person is beyond the control of scriptures. He has no obligatory duty or restriction. So the next slide. Does this mean that such a jnani does not act at all? He has nothing to do, nowhere to go. The actions are performed through the physical state, which is propelled by prarabdha karma. He has attained vairagya. He's completely detached. He's totally free emotionally. Whatever action is done as a self-liberating yajna, which is a desireless action for the welfare of the world. Not for fulfillment, but out of fulfillment. And the progress for a karma yogi is from world dependence to God dependence to self-dependence. Up to this point, Sri Krishna has stated that until a person becomes a jnani, one has to follow one's swadharma, according to one's order, the standing in the society, etc., stage of life. Even though all duties may cease in the jnani, he continues to perform actions under the impulse of the prarabdha karma for the welfare of the world. With this, Sri Krishna then draws attention to the duty that lies before Arjuna, which we will see in the following verses. Hari Om.
That was a very nice explanation of Atmanev Atmana Tushta, which is very often what our teacher, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, always keeps telling us. So if you want to quickly look at the verses that we have passed through, the summary, which is known as the Prakaranam, Agnena Adhikritena, for an ignorant person who is not ready for Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga is the only way. Karma eva kartavyam. Panch Mahayajna must be performed by him in the form of Karma Yoga. In the initial stages, it is Panch Mahayajna, Shravana Manana being less dominant. And in the later stages, Shravana Manana Nididhyasana is important and Panch Mahayajnas becomes extremely skeletal. We must all note the shift in focus. And so Sri Krishna says that Karma Yogi is a Panch Mahayajna Pradhana. Now, in this 17th verse, we would understand that the entire commitment is to Jnana Yoga Pradhana life, Karma Yoga becoming irrelevant. And this verse is Jnana Yoga Pradhana. Shankaracharya says, Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam, Karma Yogena Yoginam, highlights it again and again. So if you look at these change of verses from the 9th to the 16th verse, they are all giving us an idea of what is Karma Yoga in the Grihastha Ashrama. And there are reasons for supporting why you should do Karma Yoga. Shankaracharya says that Karma Yoga is not the primary topic here. It is just incidental. It is prasangikam. It is just being highlighted. But the primary topic of the Bhagavad Gita and in these verses is Jnana Yoga. And why is that so? Because Bhagavad Gita is a moksha shastram. And why is the Gita the moksha shastram? Because Arjuna has asked for moksha. Yashreyasyan nischitam bruhi tan me, he says in the 7th verse of the 2nd chapter. And so it is very well, beautifully brought out the Atma Rati, Atma Tripti, and Atma Eva Atmanatushtaha, Atma Eva Santushtaha. We would again understand that Karma Yoga is for this non-Jnana Yogi person. That is the highlight. So in this verse, I would like to again highlight this aspect of the Samsiddhim Chitta Shuddhim. In the 18th verse, this has also been brought out, and in the earlier verses also it has come up, that a spiritual seeker, if he is not alert, he falls and moksha is delayed. A Jnana Yogi does his duties like a Karma Yogi, but he knows that moksha is his true nature. Performance of Panch Mahayajna is only for Lokakshema and Lokasangrahartham, and his only prayer is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, and therefore Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, hey Arjuna, may you purify your mind through this Karma Yoga, do your Swadharma, which is Yuddha. Karmana sadhanena samsiddhim chitta shuddhim astitaha. It is going to bring about chitta shuddhi to you. May I now request Dr. Manjula Devi to kindly explain the 22nd verse of the 3rd chapter. Dr. Manjula.
Sir, Shri Gurubhyo Namah, Hari Om. न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन नानवाप्तम् अवाप्तव्यं वर्त एव च कर्मणि. Partha, O Arjuna, asti na kinchana, there is nothing, kartavyam me, to be persuaded by me. Trishu lokeshu, in all the 3 worlds. Na apaptavyam, there's nothing to be attained. Anapvaptama, which is not yet attained by me. Evacha, still, varte karmani, I remain in action. The meaning of the shloka is, O Arjuna, there's nothing to be persuaded by me in all the 3 worlds. There's nothing to be attained either, which is not attained by me. Still, I remain in action. Let's understand this shloka. Next slide, sir. Our scriptural studies show that there are 3 sources that show us the right, that is the dharmic way of living. The first one being the Vedas, which is the original source. Second one being Smriti Granthas, that is the Itihasas and Puranas. Third one being the lifestyle of cultured people. This plays a predominant role, especially the elders and the teachers. The lives of elders is a more powerful medium of communication, because if books have an audio effect, the lifestyle of elders can have a video effect. So one action is equal to reading 1,000 books. A Jnani has to do karma. Why? Because through karma alone, he can purify his mind. And a purified alone can attain knowledge and wisdom. And therefore, a wise person alone can attain liberation. Krishna says, once a person has attained wisdom, then he does not require karma. because once sadhyam, that is goal, is attained, the means, the sadhana, is not required for him. Bhavana is the only difference between a karma yogi and a gnani. For karma yogi, the Pancha Mahayagna is a yoga, but for a gnani, the Pancha Mahayagna is a karma abhasa. He no longer is a sadhaka, needs no sadhana, and consider himself as Siddha Nitya Mukta Atma. So the gnani performs his actions because he plays as a role model in society and therefore has to follow the Swadharma. The avatara is a born gnani and is also called Atma Rama, one who rejoices in himself. Atma Rati, one who is attracted to his own self. Atma Krida, one who performs divine pastimes with his own self. Krishna says he's an avatar, and this is more evident now when he already in verse 3:3 said, Loke asmin vivida nishta pura prokta maya anagha. In this world, twofold discipline, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga, has been initiated by me when in the beginning of creation itself. Next slide, sir. Krishna says there's nothing to be attained by me and nothing to attain at all. There's no sadhana to be performed by me and in any form, whether it is karma yoga, shravanam, mananam, or nididhyasanam. I need not attain any artha, kama, dharma, or even moksha. All four purusharthas are part of me. That's why Krishna is also called Bhagavan. Bhaga means sixfold wealth, and Van is possessor of all the six in absolute measures. Krishna quotes himself as an example. The sixth wealth that he portrays is Aishwaryam, power, that is Ishwarasya Bhava, controller of everything. Viryam, courage. Yashas, fame. Shrihi, prosperity. Gnanam, knowledge. Vairagyam, freedom from all dependence. Next slide, sir. Lord Krishna is God himself. He is in all three worlds, and all three worlds are in him. Three worlds here means Svarga, Bhuloka, and Narka. In this picture, you can see the cosmic man with the three realms. Heaven, Satyaloka to Bhuloka, that is depicted from head to belly. The earth, the groin region, is the Bhuloka. The underworld or the Naraka is Atala to Patala Loka, that is depicted in the legs in this picture. He is everything. Out of compassion towards mankind, he incarnates again and again to maintain dharma for well-being and progress of the world. He is an infinite Brahman, takes birth, comes to world, mingles with people, teaches them, elevates them to freedom and bliss. Next slide, sir. To conclude, Krishna says, though I'm a born Gnani Arjuna, I still am doing my duties and responsibilities, such as taking care of horses, feeding, or even washing them, riding the chariot as well. You want me to, and so that I don't need to do any sadhana nor sadhyam, and there's nothing that needs to be attained by me, but I'm still doing all of these actions. If I am doing it, Arjuna, you also do it and follow your dharma. As a Kshatriya, do your duty to lead the society properly. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Very nicely brought out how the karma yoga should be done by a Gnani, and an avatar. That was very nice. So we go back to these verses and see what is the highlights. The Grahastha karma yogi has to shift and become a Grahastha Jnana yogi. That is what we have to do. From being a sadhaka, sadhana to a sadhyam, which is the bhavanatraya poshakam, who is a karma yogi, we must negate them and become a bhavanatraya dushanam, which is jnana yogi. And so Krishna is telling Arjuna, transform yourself into a jnana yogi by changing your attitude, but continuing your duties of your swadharma. So Chitta Shuddhi is the most important here. We should do it in a dissociated way by a Asakta Manaha. May I now request Sri Bhaskar RV to kindly present the 26th verse of the third chapter.
Yes, sir. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse goes like this. Na buddhi vedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidhan yukta samacharam. Well, the gist of the sloka, the one who knows the Atman should not create any disturbance in the understanding of the ignorant. in fact, who are ignorant to the results of action. The wise, steadfast in knowledge and himself performing well all the actions, should encourage the ignorant into performing actions. Well, coming here, Bhagavad Gita is replete with metaphors, quotations, and advices addressing the entire gamut of the vast society. In this shloka, Bhagavan Krishna instructs the Gnani or Vidwan or Yukta or Atman. All these names mean the same: a wise man endowed with knowledge or a knower of Atman. Lord Krishna asks not to produce any disturbance in the attitude of those who are ignorant and are only committed to the results of action, that is karma pala. They are in fact known as karma sangis. They lack discrimination because of intense attachment to karma pala. Hence, at this stage, they are not prepared to be karma yogis. Na buddhi bedam janayet. Well, we often hear from people with very little knowledge of Vedanta saying, "Arey, what sort of karma is this? Performing rituals, prayers, and continuously chanting Hare Rama, Hare Krishna." In fact, castigating them as blind followers, wasting money and time. Such criticisms literally create disturbance and confusion in the people's understanding. Actually, Krishna says these people need encouragement to do karma with dharma. Imagine a society devoid of karma. Supposedly, Lord Krishna and Arjuna, who are called as who are leaders and called as Shrestas. Suppose they don't perform any karma, then obviously the praja will follow their leaders doing nothing. If this trend continues, then it becomes a law. Therefore, Krishna instructs the Atmavet not to disturb the minds of those who follow, being a karma sangi. A classic example in this context is just as you cannot alter the direction of a flowing river unless you gradually change its path. It is noticed that only a sensitive person caring for another can bring about a change by going with the flow and altering the direction of an individual little by little in a very helpful way. Swami Paramatmanda says, apply this principle to everything. Introduce God alongside karma and add value education, that is dharma. And gradually the individual will grow reaching higher realms of life. That is metamorphical change is achieved. In this verse, Krishna instructs the wise Grihastha to set an example for others, since karma and dharma are taught by example, and only then the spoken word of his carries weight. Swami Paramatmanda delves further to clarify the confusion plaguing us. Since the scriptures are complex and unique, as it is full of seeming contradictions. For instance, the Mandukya Upanishads in the initial portions glorifies karma. Karma akarta. However, in the ensuing verses, it ridicules this karma sangis. Swami Paramatmanda presents a very rational reconciliation, stating that at one stage, it's a blessing, but subsequently the same stage becomes an obstacle. For instance, a child finds the womb of the mother most conducive for growth internally. However, once the child is born, the womb becomes infructuous. Lord Krishna says, Samacharan Joshiyet, that is, a Grihastha Gnani should persuade not by mere verbal action, but not by mere verbal advice, but himself doing karma wholeheartedly and with commitment. Adi Shankaracharya in Shankara Bhashyam has endorsed that this verse is an important verse. Namaste. Hari Om.
Thank you very much for a very good presentation about the importance of how to live life, even though you are a jnani. The question that again and again comes is, should we do Panch Mahayagnyas and Shravana? There is an illegitimacy of this argument. And Krishna says, very clearly that a Jnana Yogi should encourage Karma Yogi to perform the Pancha Mahayagna as a sadhana, not to change them too much. Jnana Yogi Grahastha should persuade a Karma Yogi Grahastha to perform the Pancha Mahayagnas by himself performing those Pancha Mahayagnas. Very rightly brought out that a living example is far better than reading 1,000 books. And a sannyasi jnani who cannot perform the grahastha karmas is a totally different group. And therefore, all these advices are for the jnana yogi grahastha.
Thank you, Dr. Ravishankar sir, and all speakers of the day for a wonderful session. Thank you, friends, for your active participation in this divine journey. On coming Friday, 16th February 2024, let us tune in for Kathopanishad 15th session. Now it's time to conclude the session with Shanti Mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnabadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you, sir.